If I could just ask one more question, and it's not regarding this, it's kind of a TA's report.
Yep.
Mr. Sullivan, where do we stand with the requirements from the DOR that we have to have in for the town to set our tax rate by November 1st?
Well, we wouldn't have the management letter, but I've received a message from Jerry Perry. He's on vacation now. Most likely he and I will be speaking on October 31st. And whatever comes out of that, I'll let the board know.
Okay, great, because I remember, we had the letter from February. Thank you. I'm sorry, there was.
We have the letter from.
We had a letter from February giving us 3 items that needed to be achieved by November 1st, and I just want to know where we were.
We're going to meet those 3 items, correct, Mr. Sullivan, to your knowledge?
We will not. We would have to have the management letter by then, which we will not have. Powers and Sullivan scheduled to come in November 14th. They have been receiving some of the balances on there. But Powers and Sullivan, our accounting, myself, and our local DOR rep have all been in contact with one another.
Okay.
I have informed them that we're not going to have that for November 1st, so it's not a shock to them.
If they come in the 14th, you would expect it by the 30th?
I would expect it, so we'll have everything lined up, so when they come in, you're probably looking at a 3 to 4 days of on-site, and then the rest of the off-site to prepare that as well.
And the DOR is fine with that, Mr. Perry?
I wouldn't
Perry.
say he's.
I'm sure he's not fine with it,
Right.
but he's acceptable.
It's going to be, I'm waiting to speak to him on what he's going to say on there. I'm not going to speak for him on that. That would be a mistake.
The
Probably.
local What about, and the local representative, though, is the person who works for him, right?
Correct.
And he's in the loop, or she's in the loop?
He's in the loop.
Okay. I'm sure if his or her boss wasn't going to accept what you're doing, he would tell you, or she would tell you, right?
Yeah, I'm certain that the next time I speak with Mr. Perry, it's not going to be the best of conversations, but
Well-
explain to him what we're working on, how we're doing it, and the actions we're taking to make sure that everything's being done correctly.
You know, my commentary would be that I don't blame him, quite frankly. We've spent a ton of dough here over the last night we're arguing about $3,000 for a recycling lane. And we've spent between BMG, Powers and Sullivan, over $250,000, I bet, over the last 2 years. And here we sit again.
Right.
And you think it's more, Mr. Kudish? I see you shaking your head.
No, I'm saying it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my point, sir. And here we sit again, and we still don't have the answers, right? And that's just, I mean, we talk about the school district increasing $275, and here we are spending money like fools on accountants, and we're still not ready for November 1st. So that's not good.
The one major difference this time is that,
You have a major difference?
yeah, we've kept them in the loop, so there's no surprise. We let them know what's been going on and what's been happening. Derek's been extremely on time with all of it, because it makes a big difference. They don't mind having, as long as it's not a surprise, they can deal with it. But when it's a surprise, they don't deal with it.
I understand that part.
Like any bureaucrat, they don't like ambushes.
Can
And I
I,
understand that, but my point is that we've spent between those two firms over $250,000
And not gotten the
over
results.
the last year and a half, and we're still sitting here
Yeah.
asking the same question, are we going to be ready for November 1st? And the answer is no.
Still no, yeah.
well, just as a follow-up question, Derek, can you kind of just tell us what in the process creates the delay?
I would actually ask the town accountant to come up to speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
He's here. Mr. Kudish, good evening.
Good evening. First off, I think in terms of going back and getting the numbers from FY11 to FY12, the rollover numbers, those are being evaluated to see because, as Derek spoke about last night, some of these numbers are in whole numbers versus decimals, so they didn't carry over correctly. That's one issue. There was some linkage issues that BMAG went and changed within VADAR. So when Powers and Sullivan originally looked at the trial balance on October on September 25th. The accounts didn't tie out, so Craig identified that for us and gave us a heads up. And he's actually waiting for an updated trial balance, so we can take a look at it, and they can load it in their system. We had to get the 53 Gs ready. Those, I think, are all set now. And then there's one issue with school. We're off about $15,000 in that. We're showing a higher number on school expenditures than they're showing. And just general learning curve for me, municipal accounting, UMass and Vadar. But I am in constant contact with Powers and Sullivan, with Craig, and telling him, where we stand and getting them ready. So by me talking to him and him talking to DOR, he's gaining confidence of Derek and myself, so DOR is not blindsided.
Thank you. Well, I guess my question is this, and I understand the issues that happened, and you didn't create them, and Mr. Sullivan didn't create them. I mean, it was the circumstances, and I get that. But going forward, is there going to be a plan in place so that this is absolutely not going to happen again next year?
Well, hopefully DOR there won't be a posed deadline of November 1st. I mean, Powers and Sullivan, if they wanted to come in earlier, they couldn't be based upon their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't ready for them anyway. So it
But
wasn't
that doesn't
just-
really answer my question.
That is her question.
Right. So what
Next
are we
year.
going to do for next year
Right,
so that this doesn't happen again? Say it is November 1st.
Right.
Say it is November 1st. What can we do starting November 2nd of this year
right.
to prepare for the following year and put procedures in place so that it would be unlikely that there would be a delay?
Right, okay. I just had this conversation with Debbie in my office. I said, I think the best thing that we should do is, after 6 months, sometime March 1st, we should have a 6-month review of each department to see where we stand, budget versus actual. So when, June comes, June 15th or June 1st, we don't say, oh geez, municipal maintenance is over, or water pollution, or harbor master, or any of the, over or under. So we have to start to do line item transfers. And simultaneously, we have to see, Powers and Sullivan has an audit schedule that starts September 1st, September, October, November. They're busy for 3 months, and they're
Well,
trying to...
Yeah, but see, that doesn't make sense to me. Shouldn't we be booking our schedule with Powers and Sullivan now for in the middle of September next year? Or
If,
is that not?
We're making
am I-
reservations early.
Am
Mr.
I
Chairman,
missing something?
it sounds crazy, but we have to fit into their schedule, and they have a schedule.
Well, in a year in advance?
They
So,
basically have...
yeah, but if we say,
They may have other commitments.
right, but if we-
I thought we had an
Find out.
agreement with these folks.
We may have to prove that we're ready for that time. They
correct,
were
as
burnt-
well.
They were burnt in the past by us, where they booked a week for us to be on site.
There you go.
We weren't ready for them
Right.
whatsoever. We wasted their time,
do
and
it.
their time was very valuable.
and I understand that, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that as a response, but I personally feel that there shouldn't be any surprises in the accounting office, that if there's a monthly reconciliation, and if there's communication between the treasurers and the accounting office and the town administrator, then there shouldn't be any surprises.
Correct.
Should be ready.
We should be ready at a moment's notice.
I guess this is all a way of saying that it sounds like you two gentlemen are on top of it now, so,
But my
Going
question is,
forward-
going forward, what are we going to do
Yeah.
to be on
Yeah, I
time
mean,
next year?
We know we have them come in every year, right? So, my suggestion to you would be, you sit down with Craig or Mr. Sullivan there, and set up a 5-year plan, 5 years. And then if he's not ready, get rid of him. It's easy. This is not difficult.
They're definitely.
You probably get a deal if you book them out, unless we have to fire them for some reason, right?
We have a 3-year contract with them.
Book them out and schedule it. You probably get a better deal.
Definitely, Powers and Sullivan as the auditors, independent auditors, they are here to be helpful, to work with us
Right.
on this as well. So they're not throwing up any roadblocks on us to getting things done. They're making sure we're doing everything correctly and that everything follows law, but they're definitely not going to say, not do anything that's going to hurt us time-wise, not say we can't book it at that time, so we can work with them on this. And I also think we did the 6-month review and everything looked pretty good on there. In between that 6-month review till now, something must have happened on the balances, right?
Correct.
So that's where the issue is. I
Let's
would
get it
suggest we
fixed.
bring them in for the 6-month again on there, that 6-month review, but also that we're doing monthly reconciliations on there. That's a big one. If it's going to take more time in the beginning, then we'll all have our lights on at night, working to get it done, because we have to.
Amen.
And once this gets through on there, then life will be on the normal pace.
Because I do know that when I spoke to that Mr. Perry at one point in time over the last year and a half, he told me that he felt that Powers and Sullivan was the best for what we needed.
They
I
met our
do-
needs,
I
absolutely.
do remember one conversation I had where they called me one day with Mark Andrews, and that's what that guy told me.
Oh.
That they were the best to have. So I think whatever you guys need to do to make sure they stay here and take care of this, you need to do it. You can't waste a consultant's time, because that is money. They usually charge you if you cancel it. Did we pay for a cancellation?
We didn't. They were actually very good about that.
You're very lucky.
They were able to
Yeah.
book somebody else during that time.
Yeah, very lucky.
That's where I'm saying working with us. In other words, they didn't fine us or punish us for that time.
Yeah, okay.
Well, just one final question, and please don't mistake this as directing, but it's a strong suggestion, certainly. And I've been beating this drum for a very long time. Are there policies and procedures in place in the accounting office, in the treasurer's office, or should there be, for, say, monthly reconciliation, so that there are no surprises? I mean, I can't imagine that I would have a surprise in my personal checking account. Of course, it definitely helps now that we have separate ones, because I would find surprises when my husband used his debit card. So I can kind of make that analogy for what's happening in the town. So if they're not in place, it may be something that needs to be done yesterday,
Right.
because this seems to be a pattern for Wareham.
I know that the treasurer collector's office has the policies and procedures set up that they had written beforehand on there. They had some established already, so.
Okay.
Mrs. Begley has brought this up at least 50 times since I've known her. And I sat through that god-awful meeting with the Finance Committee, was it? we met?
Yes.
And sat there and listened to your former boss and others blame the Board of Selectmen because we didn't have a policy that said we should have monthly reconciliations. Well, I'm going to tell you, if this board has to write a policy for that, both of you guys need to go find another job.
No, I do have a policy and procedure
I'm
manual.
just telling you, if she has to come back again and with a policy in her hand to tell our accounting department and our treasury department to reconcile books every month, and we have to vote on it, I'm gonna tell you, I'll be hell blazes to get rid of you guys, and we'll start from scratch. Because that's day-to-day operation, first of all. We shouldn't have to be writing policies.
Right.
That's nuts.
I do have that in place. There's a-
Well, you know what you could do with that, please? If you wouldn't mind, email that to us so that we
Okay.
can see it. And then we can hold those policies accountable. That's not day-to-day activity.
Okay.
But we shouldn't be writing policies for the finance
Because
department.
it started off at BMAG, an 80-page policy and procedure manual I think they got from Uxbridge. And I've taken and truncated it down. So I want to go through the manual of Powers and Sullivan first, and then I can send it to you.
Yeah, all right. Send it to us, because that reminds me of that movie. Remember that? I think I even spoke about it that day. A Few Good Men. When the guy said, here's the Marine handbook, show me where that policy is.
Correct.
And the guy said, oh, no, I just followed everybody else to go eat.
Right.
We don't have to tell you where the mess hall is.
Right. And we also, I have the disaster
Right.
recovery policy for IT.
Well, that's good. But right now, we're focused on getting these reconciliations done.
Right.
Right. Okay. Not beating you up, just, we're tired of listening to this for, me now, going on 3 years listening to the same stories, or 2 years, same stories. These guys have been around a long time, but it's the first official story. We get tired
First
of reading the
official
same
story.
book. I gotta be honest with you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We look forward to seeing the procedures. Okay, next
Ne-
up, George.
Next
Why don't
is
you
the
guys-
discussion
you
of the
guys consider
TDR.